What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another special edition of Last Take. So this is the fourth time we've had Ethan on, very special guest. We had him on for an off-season preview, a season preview, a season check-in, and now a playoff preview. Ethan, how crazy is it that if I would have told you in our first or even second sit-down that we would be sitting here not only doing a Knicks playoff preview, but we would have home court advantage, you wouldn't have believed me.
Yeah, I really wouldn't have. I know we talked about in the first, I remember we talked about we were like maybe this team could maybe slip into the 10 seed and maybe we get lucky and we win a few play-in games and maybe you never know. But now we have home court advantage. We're going into a playoff series that many people are picking us to win. I think it's pretty split of people who's picking to win, but many people are picking us to win, and it blows my mind. It's truly just.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that first video because I think that we had said what are your realistic expectations for this team versus what you're hoping for, and I think it was probably something like my heart says we can be in the play-in, but realistically we're probably going to be back in the lottery. This wasn't even on my radar of possibilities. When you run down the list, I thought Tibbs was a good guy for the job. Didn't think he'd be a coach of the year candidate. We thought Julius Randle was maybe legitimately going to get benched for Obi Toppin. He's going to receive MVP votes. Emmanuel quickly was unheard of. I'm wearing his jersey right now. He had one of the best rookie seasons in all of basketball. RJ Barrett took the leap that we were hoping for him to take. It's just a laundry list of things that all came up Knicks. It was literally more things that have gone right for the Knicks in 1 year than have gone right for them in the past 20 years. And that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, it was just some of the things that just happened this year were just you can't believe it. This team was just so many things just happened in good ways, and it just. Yeah, I'm at a loss for words just thinking about it. It's just crazy.
So we'll start off. I just ran through. Obviously, we know Tibbs is a story. We know Julius Randle is the best player on this team. We know RJ Barrett is his sidekick. Who's a guy that you think is really crucial for this Knicks team, has not only been crucial for them this year, but you think if they're going to win this Atlanta series needs to show up again? Because I think there's probably 5 or 6 names you could go with here, but who to you is the guy after Julius and RJ you're this guy needs to show up if we're going to win this series?
I mean, I think it's the unoriginal answer, but I think it's Derrick Rose. He's obviously is of one of the veterans on the team, along with Taj, I think you'd say. And then I think you'd throw some other guys as veterans, but they're younger veterans. Noel's he's a veteran, but he's 27, and Burks is 29 or something. So I think you'd throw them as younger veterans. But I think it's Derrick Rose. He's come up, he's taken a lot of big shots for us recently. He's performed very well, especially now that he's fully there was clearly a period where he struggled a little bit coming back from COVID. It was rumored that he got a lot of symptoms from it, and I think it's just hard to get yourself back into it. But yeah, I think Derrick Rose, and then maybe Alec Burks. You can also say Emmanuel quickly. I think you can also say, but I think the number one guy that has to come up is Derrick Rose. I think.
No, I'm absolutely with you, especially when you consider, and we'll get to, I'm not even going to say his name till the segment, but when you consider that our starting point guard is really not our starting point guard in the sense that he physically starts the games, but he's not the one closing games. Derrick Rose has been the primary ball handler for this team in a lot of clutch situations this year. But you go down the list. I mean, you mentioned Taj Gibson. Nerlens Noel has been huge for this team with Mitchell Robinson out. If you would have told me, yeah, Mitch is going to get hurt, but it's fine because Nerlens Noel is going to start and Taj Gibson's going to come off the bench and they're going to handle the 5, I would not have believed you. Bullock and Burks are the shooters that the Knicks have not had in legitimately 8 years. They haven't had this kind of shooting since their last playoff run. Quickly hasn't played as much of late. Obviously, he's been battling some injuries. He's missed some games, but he's obviously huge too. This entire team just, 1 through 10, even Obi's minutes have gotten, markedly better since the beginning of the season. He actually, provides a lot of solid minutes for them now, which gives Julius, some much needed rest. So there's just so many guys on this team that are so vital. And it's just, every single move that they've made has really panned out this year.
Yeah, it's real. It's again like it's just like it's so like just like the like I'm just trying to come up with words to describe it because just so many of these guys have like come here. They come here hungry. They've come here believing like Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks signed 1 year, $6 million deals to come to the Knicks when we were kind of at seemingly on paper at least, we were kind of at rock bottom. They could have gotten those contracts somewhere else, but they came to the Knicks. Mm-hmm. And like from the day they got there, they talked about like they believed in this team, and like it's just like you know I there's just like so much of these players I'm like thankful for like giving this team a chance and like truly like buying into this team. Like there's just so many players like really like Reggie Bullock described it the best when they said it's the big 15 of mm-hmm. that they're just all buying in, and like there's no one guy ahead of the others in their mind. They're just all buying in there, and they're all trying to serve their roles, whatever role that might be. But
mm-hmm. Real quick, I'm not trying to talk Nets because this is a Knicks playoff preview video. KD saying the Big 15, that's a direct shot at the Knicks, right? Like, there's no coincidence there. He didn't hear that and decide to like it. That's a direct shot at the Knicks, is it not?
Yeah. Yeah. And then
I saw some people trying to say otherwise.
Yeah. And then, I'm not going to like sit here and try to act like triggered about it because I understand why he's doing it, you know, like, because there is starting to become a little bit of a rivalry as much as people want to like deny it. And then like, you know, there's a lot of like the whole Knicks run New York, and then people are like, so what, whatever. But you know, Katie's a little petty like that. Like, I don't know if you saw the clip in his like, he did like a podcast where they asked him to name his top 5, like, I forget if it was favorite or best.
And he didn't put in Russ, right?
He didn't put in Russ, and then they brought up Russ, and then he was like, actually, you know, I'll put Russ 4 and I'll move Klay down to 5. Yeah. But he put Serge Ibaka. Like, he wasn't gonna remember Serge, like he wasn't just gonna forget Russ. Like, he definitely, you know, he's a little petty like that, and I understand it. You know, he's earned the right at this point to be a little petty about some things, but yeah, it was a shot at the Knicks.
Yeah, and listen, I didn't hate it. I thought it was kind of funny. They did sweep us in the season series, even though we played them well a couple of those games. You know, KD is one of the top 2 to 3 best basketball players on the planet. He's already made an all-time case for himself. The laundry list goes down. I hated him a lot when he was with Golden State. I've started to come around on him and just realizing what he is. He's literally a Twitter troll. Like, he's literally what you and I like to do on Twitter sometimes and have fun with people, except he's just also one of the best basketball players of all time. Yeah. So you got to kind of respect it. But I saw some people trying to deny whether or not it was a shot at the Knicks. It was a shot at the Knicks. Just accept it and move on. But speaking of Twitter trolls, kind of, if you include Knicks Fan 6, Elfrid Payton is still the starting point guard for this basketball team. It's obviously a hot topic of contention. I remember seeing one of your tweets a couple weeks back. It's so true. It's so funny how crazy people go in their replies to every single Knicks lineup just because we don't like one of the 5 guys. Like, we're fine with Reggie and Julius and Nerlens and RJ. It's just Elfrid that brings out the reaction in people. How is he still starting? Like, how do you think we're even in this position where a change hasn't been made? And B, what do you expect to see come this Atlanta series? Because the starting point guard on the other side, Trae Young, is their best player. I think we have guys like Frank who are better suited to neutralize him than Elfrid Payton is. So why do you think he's still starting? And then what do you expect to see from the point guard position in this series?
So, yeah, if you would have told me, like, for example, when we did the third one of these that we did, and Elfrid was still like clearly a weakness on this team, to say the least. And you would have told me that he would have probably gotten worse since then, because like recently he's been really bad.
Even worse.
Really bad, like to the point where he's like unplayable now. And I think Tibbs understands it to some extent. His minutes have shrunk. I kind of want to think of it as like Tibbs started to realize he was a or maybe not even started to realize, but started to take action upon him being a problem by like decreasing his minutes, but he wanted to keep continuity with like Rose and Quickly and sometimes Frank, depending on the situation off the bench. So he just decided to start Elfrid, and then even if he plays like 8 minutes to start the game, and then like comes out the half and plays like another 5, then like it's like, all right, he played 13 minutes. But like the thing is now it's just getting to the point where he is just unplayable. Like you can't play this guy in a playoff series, and I think he's going to. And we saw Tibbs, and I have a lot of respect for Tibbs. I have a lot of thanks for Tibbs for what he's been able to do for this team. But he just goes like he just like defends Elfrid Payton, like doesn't really provide any like reasoning to like what he's not. And like there's just so much evidence that suggests that Elfrid Payton is a detriment to this team. And like it's really just not that deep. It's just like blatantly obvious to anyone who's watched the team or like anyone who's just looked at anything involving the team that he's a detriment to the team. So I don't know what's going to happen. I know Tibbs in his press conference today said he's still obviously like he's still working out like what he wants to do, and like obviously he's thought about in the past. But given that like we didn't know we were playing Atlanta till now he's like fully prepping for Atlanta, and he said that that he values Frank's defensive versatility a lot, and especially when he mentioned going up against someone like Trae Young, who obviously is an offensive threat in many ways. His playmaking and his scoring, obviously, he's one of the best playmaking scoring guards in the league. And he said that he values Frank in that. So we'll see what happens with Frank. But I think Elfrid's going to end up starting the first playoff games, and I just don't see how that is justifiable, to be honest. I don't see how that's justifiable.
No, I'm totally with you, and it has been encouraging to see his minutes get cut, but at the same time, I think you're right that he's been even worse since his minutes have gone down. I feel like you can almost see him out there where he's like, well, I'm only going to get however many minutes today. I need to make the most. And he's trying to force shots and passes and just things to happen even more so than he was doing early in the season. Like, I forget what game it was. It might have been either the Laker game or the Clipper game. He's like trying to throw lobs, like he's bricking layups, like just plays that are not there. He's trying to make happen. I guess my only rationale is that IQ, Rose, and Frank, they're not guys you can lean on for like 35 to 40 minutes a night. So I guess maybe if he needs to get the minutes out of Elfrid, he'd rather get them out of the way early rather than have to go to him off the bench. I don't know. There's really no rationale.
I don't know. And again, Tibbs clearly likes him to some extent. I really hope that does not lead him to be brought back. And I doubt it leads to him getting brought back. But Tibbs clearly does see something in him. I don't see it. But again, people have cited his defense to why he's starting. But like Frank has been the one that comes in like at the end of quarters to like just shut down, like if they have like if the opposing team has possession at the end of the quarter, he's been the one that just come in and just make sure like just mop up the rest of the quarter. I just don't see what Elfrid Payton provides to beyond just like any like this basketball team. I just don't see what he provides us.
Yeah, no, me neither. So we obviously talked about Trae Young. You're right. He's one of the best young stars in the NBA. He's a playmaker, shooter, scorer. He's perfected that annoying move where he gets fouled. And it's not even really a foul. He just kind of catches the defender trapped behind him. He's infuriating to watch. I've hated him pretty much since he came into the league, just at least watching him play. I've hated. I'm going to hate it even more after this series. I think everyone knows Trae Young. Give me some other guys who you think are going to be a problem for the Knicks this series, or guys who they need to neutralize in some way other than Trae Young? Because the Hawks have been playing good basketball. You know, I think Knicks fans are confident with how well they've played, the 4-seed home court advantage. The Hawks are a good team. They're playing well. So who are some other guys they're going to need to neutralize if they want to win?
Yeah, so first you mentioned the Hawks. You know, they've been playing very well since Nate McMillan has taken over as the coach. He'll probably get some I think ultimately the coach of the year is either going to be Monty Williams from the Suns or Tibbs but I think Nate McMillan, if he coached maybe the entire year, maybe he'd get more consideration. But considering he only coached I think it was slightly less than 2/3 of the year, I think he'll get. But I think he'll come in third or fourth in Coach of the Year voting. But I think one guy that the Knicks that could drive the Knicks a lot of problems is Clint Capela, who I think first off, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also him and Nerlens, I feel like he could give Nerlens a lot of problems on the rebounds as well. So I think that could lead to some issues. I think ultimately you might see a lot of Taj in closing minutes, which we have seen at points this year. But especially if Nerlens is just getting out rebounded by Clint Capela, it might be time to for some closing minutes with Taj. So I think he could drive us a lot of problems. I think he's the Hawks' second best player, really. Bojan Bogdanovic, he can be annoying, I guess. He had that one shot that sent it into overtime against the Knicks this year. So that was the game that Trae Young got hurt, and then we took the lead after, and then he hit the shot that sent it into overtime. And then they have a lot of good players. DeAndre Hunter's come back from an injury. He was playing really well before. Second-year player drafted right behind R.J. Barrett. He was playing really well before he got hurt. He's come back recently. He's been, he was out for a while, but I think he should be ready to go by the playoffs. Obviously, I don't know if I mentioned John Collins. Probably the second best offensive player. And yeah, they have a lot of guys that can potentially give the Knicks issues, but I think also I mentioned John Collins. I don't Julius Randle is destroying John Collins when they're matched up on each other. So I think there's guys that can give the Knicks fits, but I think that the Knicks are as well to take the Knicks defensively are as well equipped to take care of many other teams in my eyes. But I mentioned Clint Capela. I feel like he's someone that could give the Knicks a lot of issues. So that's just my opinion.
So obviously the Knicks did get home court advantage. It was ugly the way they beat the Celtics, the last half of the bench on Sunday. That game gave me a full-on heart attack, but they did get the job done. They are the 4 seed. Home court advantage, I think, is big in any sport, in any series, but especially now with the news that the Knicks are upping their capacity from, I believe it was 20% still before this, and now they're going to around 13,000 people, I think, or 65%.
Yeah, I think it's 13, and I think it's there's vaccinated and unvaccinated. I'm actually I mentioned to you this before. I'm going on I believe game 2 is going to be Tuesday, but it might be Wednesday.
Yep.
So yeah, there's the vaccinated section. I forget how, but it's really close to 100%, and then there's still the unvaccinated section. They said that the requirement is that 50% is the maximum amount that you can cater to vaccinated people is 50% of the stadium.
Okay.
So which I think they're doing the maximum, so 50% to vaccinated, 50% to unvaccinated, and then obviously there's more. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of people. The Knicks have played very well at home this year. I forget their exact record on the top of my head, but I believe they're actually below 500 away. So yeah, I just looked it up. So they're 25-11 at home and 16-20 on the road, which actually, funny enough, is the same exact split that the Atlanta Hawks have, because they have the same record as us, but we have so it's actually the same exact split. So I think home court advantage is obviously a big deal, and a big deal now. And the capacity's up. MSG, there, MSG is going to be super loud. So I definitely think home court advantage is a big advantage for us. But I think at the same time we have to I was talking with one Hawks fan on Twitter where I said like we have to game one, like we have to win like game one, because if we lose game one, that's a game at home that's gone, and now we're down the series. Now the best case scenario is that we're going to Atlanta tied. I don't like we have to go out and win game one, which hopefully we take care of. But yeah, I think home court advantage is huge for us.
Yeah, and I think this crowd is going to be massive. I mean, we've seen it before. I mean, even the 2017, Yankees in the playoffs, just really fed off the crowd. And I think especially this Knicks team, the way they play, defense first, the intensity. I really think the Garden is just going to be an unbelievable environment. People have been starved to get to games because of COVID. It's the first Knicks playoff game in 8 years. This team is so exciting. They're the 4 seed. We didn't limp into the playoffs, and any playoff game for the Knicks, the Garden would be electric. But talking about a game one where they're the 4 seed, the place is going to be going absolutely crazy. So I really think this could be a huge advantage for the Knicks, even more so than home court advantage would be in other seasons.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as you said, like, it would be like one thing if we were like, it would be one thing like we talked about early in the year of like if we ended up getting into like the play-in, it would be one thing, like, like maybe we limped into the play-in a little bit, and like, the Garden would be like ecstatic, and they'd be like pumped up. But like as the we are like people sometimes even make fun of Knicks fans for it, but like you see the clips of Knicks fans like leaving the Garden when we win regular, like the game that like we won when we were 17-17, and that made us 18-17. Like there was the whole thing of like people just like running down the streets excited, and like we've heard it like you hear in away games now, Julius Randle gets MVP chance when he goes to the line. Like people are excited by this Knicks team, and I think that's going to be reflected by the Garden environment when this team with this team in the playoffs. I think that's going to be reflected. I think it's going to be like it might not be 100%, but it's but you're going to hear it like way over 100.
It's going to sound like 150. It's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you mentioned people clowning on Knicks fans, and obviously this is nothing new. I've endured it my entire life as a Knicks fan, but this is the first time in a while where they're kind of clowning on us for our success a little bit. I think a lot of these major media publications, namely ESPN and Bleacher Report, they don't know how to cover the Knicks without shitting on them. So it's either waiting on our downfall to shit on us or making fun of Knicks fans for celebrating. Is there any old take, any person in the media that you specifically enjoy dunking on? I know early in the season it was the CBS Sports quickly D+ grade. ESPN or Bleacher Report, I think it was ESPN, had our projection at like 22 wins with a 0% chance at the playoffs. Jorge Sedano, there's obviously that clip of him laughing hysterically when we get the third pick, turns out to be RJ, even though RJ is now going to be in the playoffs before Zion. Is there any one tweet or person in particular that you've really enjoyed dunking on this year?
I mean, you mentioned the ESPN projected win total. I'm not sure about that. But Bleacher Report's projected win total.
That's probably what it was.
No, but Bleacher Report's projected win total was lower than 22. I'm curious. Guess what Bleacher Report's projected win total was for the Knicks.
Was it like 17 or something?
Lower. It was 13.
No
13
way.
13 wins. I swear. At least it was like one person's projection. Like maybe it was like they did like a few projections, but like one person had the Knicks at 13 wins this year. So that is just absolutely like hilarious to look at. Like we didn't expect this team to be good. Like for example, if ESPN projected us for 22 wins, like I would have thought that we won more than 22 wins. But like, okay, fine. 22 is like fringe worst team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even like that's probably like given that the season's 10 games less, that's probably like you're looking at like a bottom 5 team, but not even the worst team in the league. Right. 13 wins, come on, that is a little excessive there. Like let's relax a little bit.
Oh,
so yeah, that one was really funny. And also, there's a lot of funny thing. There was like one funny article, which the guy actually has come back and said that he rooted from the Knicks day one this season, and like I think people like understood. He just wrote in like a little frustration so it was a Knicks fan who works at the Ringer, and he wrote an article when the Knicks hired Tom Thibodeau, and like he named the article like Knicks hired Tom Thibodeau as I highly reconsider my Knicks fanship. And he said like, you know, he said like he came around at a point, but like that was still funny. There's a lot of funny ones, and I still have a lot bookmarked. I basically bookmarked every pick of the Hawks beating us, even though that, like, again, that's not even like an atrocious take, I would say, but I've still bookmarked it just because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot of takes. I forget some of them, but yeah, there's a lot of takes that you can like pinpoint as like. And my favorite part about the guy laughing at us when I forget his name. I know who he is, but
Jorge Sedano.
Yeah. So the funny part about him laughing at the Knicks is he laughed at the Knicks because he was like, I'm not even gonna like clown him on the fact that like at the time, you know, like we were pathetic at the time, but the funny part was that he talked about like how David Griffin was the one who deserved Zion, and David Griffin has done at like a horrible job at building around Zion. Like he's like the players he's decided to put around Zion are Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like what was funny about that clip and why I posted it that day was the day the Knicks clinched the playoffs was the same day that the Pelicans were eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it was just that like it just like symboled something a little bit of just like you know it was just like, you know, I thought it was funny given that on the same day those two things happened. And yeah, there's just been a ton of there was also the famous one of there was the famous one of when Stephen A. and Smith and Max Kellerman were on First Take, and they were arguing, and like Stephen A. was like disappointed that the Knicks missed out on Katie and Kyrie, and he was just like quiet actually, like he was just like understandably upset, and then like Max Kellerman was like making fun of Julius Randle like a lot. Like what he did was he bought, I believe it was a Frank jersey, and he just like taped Julius, and then he just taped Randle over it. It was just like, I got you a Julius Randle jersey, I hope you enjoy it. And it's like, so it was just funny of like now Julius Randle's going to make an all NBA team this year. Yeah. So, you know, it's just you know, it's just funny, some of these things, and you know, it's fine. But
all right, Ethan, we'll wrap up here. How do you see this series going? What do the Knicks need to do to win this series in your mind? What are like the key factors you think, and how do you see this series going? Do you see the Knicks winning it?
So yes, so I think for the Knicks to win this series, they're obviously gonna have to play good on defense. I think Julius Randle's gonna have to have a big series. I talked about how they really don't have a good matchup for Julius Randle. So I think, and he's destroyed the Hawks this year. So I think he's going to have a big series. And I think a lot of players are going to have a big series, but I think he's going to have to motor the offense a little bit. I think and I think also, you know, I think the Knicks are going to have to defend well, as I said. Trae Young, obviously, he's capable. There's been some talk about like that maybe he doesn't get all the calls he gets in the regular season. Now that he's in the playoffs, I know there's been like a lot of talk with like James Harden in the past. Like a lot of people have attributed his shortcomings, quote unquote, because he still had good playoff series, but I think it's a little exaggerated when you're like a superstar like James Harden. But people have attributed that to like him not getting all the calls he gets in the regular season. So there's been some thought with Trae Young. I think the Knicks you know, we're gonna have to play to our strengths. I know that's like stereotypical. I know that's like a cliche. And obviously the Hawks are dangerous in their ways. But I think the Knicks are a better coach team. I think we're the better defensive team. And I think in the playoffs that's going to be something that comes out. And ultimately, I have the Knicks winning this series in 6 or 7 games. I think it's going to be a good series, but I ultimately have the Knicks winning in 6 or 7 games.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you on that. Knicks in 6. And I'm going to go back to something you said earlier. I really think they need to win game 1. I'm not saying the series is over if they don't win game 1. That was the big Paul Pierce clip a couple years ago when
when the Celtics beat the Bucks in game 1 and they
so I'm not going to have a Paul Pierce moment here. I do think game 1 is just especially crucial, though. At the Garden, you got to come out hot. And one thing I do think is on the Knicks side, and an underrated thing, what they did by avoiding the play-in tournament. Not only, obviously, did they not have to play either 1 or 2 games for their season, they get an entire week off now. They're going to go 1 week between basketball games, which I think for a team like the Knicks especially is huge. You could tell they were kind of running out of gas a little bit. Obviously, these guys play hard. For Tibbs, some of these guys are playing heavier minutes. You know, D. Rose was beat up quickly. Bullock a little beat up. Julius Randle obviously taking an absolute beating this year. This team needed a week off, maybe more than any other team in the playoffs. I don't think that's an exaggeration to say. I think they use that, and I think they need to take that and come out in front of the Garden crowd on Sunday and take it to the Hawks in game 1. But I'm with you. Knicks in 6. They've got so much momentum right now. They got to keep it rolling. So I really see no reason why they shouldn't win this series, even though there's obviously a very real possibility they might not. I think in my head that they are definitely going to go on to the next round.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm hoping for them to win. But if they don't win, I think it's also important us to understand that this team way exceeded anyone's expectations, and like. If they end up losing this playoff series, which again I'm hoping they win, I think they'll win. If they end up losing this series, it's still been an incredible year, and I think it's important to recognize that while also wanting to still move on in the playoffs. Likely to face Philly in the next round if we win. So I'm looking forward to this series. I'm really excited. I'm more than looking forward to. I'm stoked. Like I'm super excited. Like there was points in time. I know, like I've talked about like on Twitter where there was just like points in times that like I didn't know if this like I knew eventually, obviously, like the Knicks were going to make the playoffs, but I just didn't know how this team was going to make the playoffs at points. And just I'm just like so thankful for Leon Rose, for everyone else he's hired. So thankful for Tom Thibodeau, thankful for Julius Randle. I sound like emotional now, but I'm thankful for a lot of these people because they've provided me with a lot of great moments this year, I guess you can say. So I'm super excited. Like when the Knicks clinched the playoffs, and we didn't even win the game to clinch the playoffs. It was the Celtics losing to the Cavs. I got a little emotional because it was just like, it was just like sometimes you just don't know when these things are going to happen again. And the way it happened this year with this group of people, just really a special group of people, like super hardworking people, like Julius Randle, like one of the most hardworking, Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, but I'm talking about Julius Randle just because he's been the story of this season for the Knicks, I guess. Just like the amount of work that he's put into himself, like you read these stories about him, about like when the Knicks weren't invited to the bubble, like he was like really upset by it, and the idea of like that, like he like wasn't able, like that he wasn't like. That he like we all know he wasn't good enough last year, and I hate to just keep going on, but just how much like work he's put in. He's shooting like 14% better from 3, like that's just unheard of. And his playmaking, like he went from a total mess of a player to just like someone who's just like so like in control with himself, and like he's gonna make an All NBA team this year, and I'm just so like thankful for that. I'm thankful for a lot of things. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
No, absolutely. And I think you said something really important. I even tweeted out, I think a couple of days ago. Obviously, it's going to sting if they don't win this series, but no matter what happens this week, this season is a massive, massive success for the New York Knicks. We were talking about at the beginning of the show, what were our expectations? Maybe sneak into the play-in tournament. Then as we started to play better, it became, all right, get into the real playoff, be a top 6 team. Then it became, all right, get the 4 seed. Now it's beat the Hawks. So obviously it would be awesome to come out of the series with a playoff series win and get knocked off by, say, a Philly than it would be to lose a 4 or 5 seed where you have home court advantage. I get that, but this season is a success for all the reasons you said. I don't know if I've felt this way about a sports team since at least the 2017 Yankees, and maybe ever, just because not only did this team come so far out of nowhere, but a team like the Yankees was just like, all right, it's a rebuilding year. The Knicks have been shit on by the media for 2 decades now. Julius Randle was shit on by even you and me, every Knicks fans alike. He was brutal to watch last year. And the fact that he said, I knew I needed to be better, and he got better, that's awesome. RJ Barrett, people were trying to call him a bust last year just because, he's 19 and he wasn't a superstar immediately like how some other guys are. He's silenced the critics this year. Emmanuel Quickly, D+ draft pick. That's a great story. All these free agents who, like you said, bet on themselves, Noel and Burks and Bullock, they've had great years. Tibbs wanting this Knicks job and now getting it, and in year 1 taking them to the playoffs. There's just so many things you could say about this team that just warm my heart. So I really badly want them to win this series, go out on a high note, because I think you and I both agree this season is going to end with a championship as badly as we would want that. So I think this is the best way they could go out, win a couple games in front of the Garden crowd, move on, and look forward to what should hopefully be a promising time to be a New York Knicks fan.
Yeah, and like as you said, like this team's probably not going to win. Like there's a very small chance that this team is going to end up winning a championship. But like if we end up making the second round, I think we could give Philly some fights. Like maybe like take two games from Philly or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Obviously we have to focus on Atlanta first, but I think ultimately, like as you said, just like being able like if we lose to Philly, I'm going to be able to fully sleep well at night with this team. If we lose to Atlanta, as you said, this season's still a massive success, but I'm still going to have I'm gonna be thinking.
There's gonna be a what if factor. There's gonna be a we could have this. It puts a little bit of a negative damper on what was an amazing season if we lose.
Yeah, but if we lose to Philly, and then if by any chance we beat Philly and then we lose to Brooklyn or whatever the hell happens, if we beat Atlanta, I will go home. I will sleep happy no matter what happens the rest of the way, because this team has just been a special story, and I'm so happy with this team. I'm so thankful for this team, and it's just been an awesome season.
Absolutely. So Ethan, this was fun, buddy. Who knows? Hopefully in a week, maybe we'll be doing this again. Maybe we'll be doing a Sixers series preview video. Who knows? But until then, make sure you guys follow Ethan on Twitter, like the video, comment, subscribe, do whatever. Knicks playoff game in 4 days. It doesn't feel real. 3 days probably by the time you're watching this. So Ethan, thank you for coming on, man, and let's go Knicks, baby.
Yeah.